Hello, Four States listeners. This is Roberta Foster, and welcome to today's edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word. And today I welcome Laura Hodges Poole on the Author's Corner, and she has written the book Hope's Gentle Touch, which is published by Firefly Southern Fiction, an imprint of Lighthouse Publishing of the Carolinas, a division of Iron Stream Media. And we'll tell you more about how to find the book at the end of the program. A little bit about Laura. She is an award-winning Christian author. Her most recent novel, Return to Walhalla, was a Selah Award finalist. She enjoys encouraging others through her blog, A Word of Encouragement, and she'll tell us a little bit more about that in a short time. She also enjoys hiking and is a mother of two and empty nester, so spending quiet time with her husband is also part of her joy. And so, Laura, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, I'll tell you, when I picked up your book and saw the write-up on it, I was definitely intrigued. It is a Christian romance, but it also deals with surviving domestic violence. So tell us why you decided to write a book with that topic and why you feel it's relevant within the Christian genre.
Okay. First of all, it is a Christian romance, but, we go to church, we sit in church, and we look around at others, and we think everybody has perfect life, except us. Statistics prove that there's a lot of social ills and brokenness represented in those people that sit in the pews. Mm-hmm. And one of those is domestic violence. And more than 10 million people experience domestic violence annually in the United States. Mm. And that means 1 in 4 women, 1 in 10 men. And that doesn't change in Christian circles. You still have that domestic violence statistic. So that's part of the reason I wanted to deal with it, because I think it is relevant in Christian homes as well.
And through the writing of your book, do you provide insights into how to get out of the domestic violence situation, or is it just a story?
It's basically just a story, but I hope through showing my main character, Misty, her journey, and also she becomes a mentor for other domestic violence survivors, that you see the journey and you see that there are resources there, whether it's your community safe house, whether it is the domestic violence hotline, that there are community resources. So I hope that even though I didn't blatantly say, here's the number to the, domestic violence hotline, that I showed through the story the steps that you would take if you needed to get help.
Great. That's very exciting. So why do you feel it's important in your writings to even include social issues rather than just being an entertainment novel?
Well, I do think that Christian readers, like any fiction reader, want to be entertained and escape their reality while they're reading a good book. But they also want to be encouraged and inspired and maybe find a solution to something they're struggling with, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's sin, whether it's annoying relatives, all the things that we deal with in our lives, and then try to figure out what's the right path for my life.
Yeah.
I think if my readers see this in the story, how God works in someone's life, even if it's a fictional character, that's an encouragement to them. I think ultimately you do get entertained in my writing. I bring out through secondary characters, whether it's somebody that's sweet, whether it's somebody that's a curmudgeon. Hopefully you get the social issues and you get entertained at the same time.
Yes, most definitely. And I personally really enjoy a novel that has these social lessons and issues and how to overcome, I find it worth my time reading to be able to be built up. And so I'm really excited about your book and what it will be able to help others overcome and come through. So tell us what actually motivates you to even write stories. Do you consider it just a talent or a calling that God has given you?
I really have a heart for hurting people, for people around me. I see the struggles, and just in general, life is difficult, whether you're a Christian or not. And I'm a Christian writer, but I hope I inspire people from all walks of life who would pick up my book. I've dealt with a lot of heartache myself, and death, my sister, my daughter more recently. And so a word of encouragement, my blog, and then I wrote a devotional called While I'm Waiting, because people are desperate. They need encouragement in the broken world. So I like my writing to reassure them that God is present, even in the toughest trials that you go through. Especially in the trial, He's present and He'll be there. So that motivates me, but I also think it is a gift that God has given me, and I've developed it.
Wonderful. Well, I'm talking with Laura Hodges Poole, and she's written Hope's Gentle Touch, which is published by Firefly Southern Fiction, an imprint of Lighthouse Publishing of the Carolinas, and that's a division of Iron Stream Media. So getting back to the plot of your book, other than the obvious point of domestic violence, what other takeaways do you hope that the readers will get from this book?
The most important thing would be God's grace. I want that to flow through every story I write, and hopefully the storylines, the characters are developed well enough that the readers will feel that organically without me preaching it, because I know people do not like to be preached to in a fiction novel. And I want my readers to be entertained, as we said. I want them to get caught up in the story, that they can't put the book down. One of my reviewers said, for Return to Valhalla, my previous book, she said she laughed and she fussed out loud as she read it. That's what I want. I want people to become so engaged in the book, the storyline, that they just thoroughly enjoy it. But at the same time, I want them to feel God's grace and the forgiveness that you're given no matter what you do in life, no matter what mistakes you make, that Christ can free us from that guilt and shame and fear in addition to forgiving us. And so that's the takeaway that I really want my readers to get.
Well, how did you research the whole domestic violence issue in order to be able to include it in your book?
I did a lot of online research, and I talked to a few people who actually, were in that situation themselves and their journey. And one of the things that I touched on early on, because my two main characters talk about the fact of why doesn't a woman just leave? And I had a friend a few years ago that she would never leave. And so I was able to look at that and through my research understand that it's not that simple. It's not that cut and dry. That often it does not end well. And even for women who escape it, there's a lot of issues that they end up having to deal with after that.
Yeah.
So just a lot of online research, and then, like I said, through some of my friends.
Well, as you stated, you desire to offer encouragement to those that would be reading or looking for some answers. And so direct us again to your blog called A Word of Encouragement, and how people can utilize that for their own personal well-being.
Okay, it's online, and it's laurahodgespoole.blogspot.com, and I typically do short devotions. Sometimes I'll share things that are going on in my life. I kind of chronicled the journey of after I lost my daughter. Sometimes I have guest bloggers who will post something. And so it's just, it takes you through that daily, like I said, the daily grind of life sometimes, and then when you're throwing a huge curveball and have to deal with it.
And do you have writings coming up that we should be looking for in the future?
I am working on the sequel to Hope's Gentle Touch. It's going to include the couple of secondary characters from Hope's Gentle Touch. Misty's sister, Savannah, who is a missionary that returned to the States, and then Adam's brother, Colton, who is the complete opposite of Adam. So I'm enjoying working on that storyline. Hopefully by the end of the book, they're together.
Okay. And if people want to find out, well, let me remind our folks first that I'm talking with Laura Hodges Poole, and she's written the book Hope's Gentle Touch, and it's a publication from Iron Stream Media. And so, Laura, if people want to find out more about you or your book, how would you direct them to do that?
Okay, you could go to my website, which is laurahodgespoole.com. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook, and the book can be found on Amazon and basically any bookstore that you shop in that you could go to and ask for them to order the book. So just wherever you normally buy your book, you can get a copy of it.
Okay. Well, one more time, the book is called Hope's Gentle Touch, written by Laura Hodges Poole, and that's Poole. And we certainly thank Iron Stream Media for giving us a copy to talk about today. And Laura, thank you so much for being with us and your encouragement to the body of Christ.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join us again next time.